Namaste, welcome to Arthaniti. As we wrap up the week, I want to bring you the news that matter, which came out this week. The first and foremost important news that all of us Indians should know is that India uh, is the fastest growing economy in the world in 2023. The GDP growth rate of India is the fastest in the world. No other country, not even China or developed countries like the US or Germany, have matched with the growth rate that India has shown in this financial year. Now, if you see this infograph, it will clearly show you where India stands as compared to other countries in the world. Well, Indonesia is just behind us at 5.3% growth of GDP, whereas developed nations like Japan, Germany, USA are all lagging behind at 1 to 2.5%. China, with which we are always compared with, has also clocked in a GDP growth of 3%, whereas we have clocked in more than double that of China, a growth which is more than double that of China at 7.2%. So these are very important numbers, and which gives you an optimistic view about where our country's economy is headed when most countries in the world are facing recessionary pressures. It is said that Germany has already sunk into recession. US has all probabilities of sinking into a recession. China is still not out of the COVID mess, and like there is only one bright spot when it comes to economic growth, which is India. So all of us Indians should be really proud of this achievement that we collectively were able to do. Correct. The next important news that I want to share with you is a report by Morgan Stanley. Now, Morgan Stanley is one of the foremost research firms in the world, and it has come out with a report yesterday saying, stating the transformation of India from 2014 till date. It has said in its report, it has categorically stated that what India was in 2013 is nowhere to be seen. It has completely transformed itself under the Modi administration. Now, under in its report, it has stated a 10 point. It has stated data on 10 major reforms that the Modi government has undertaken, which has changed the economic outlook of India and has put India on the path to become a 5 trillion economy. Right now, these 10 points, these 10 macro level reforms that the government of India has done, which have been jotted out in this report. I have put up this infograph to show you those 10 factors on which Morgan Stanley has reported this massive transformation that has taken place in India. First and foremost, it states the supply side policy reforms. Basically, how it has made doing business in India more attractive, how it has eased doing business in India. Now, infrastructural push is one area which is the base for any industrialization to happen in the country. If you follow Nitin Gadkari ji on Twitter, you will come to know the pace at which infrastructural development is happening in India. It is the fastest in the world. The second thing is the data, the connectivity, the broadband connectivity, which is one of the cheapest in India, and the rate at which it has exponentially grown. All of us know when Reliance launched its Geo at for free, and the way things changed so that more and more people could get access to the internet is a classic example of how infrastructural development has changed in front of our own eyes. Correct. Second, the next thing that was mentioned in the ease of doing business was a push in electrification of public transport like railways, metro lines that are coming up in major cities in the world, use of alternative energy in the sense electric motor two wheelers and cars, and the pace at which they are getting launched and the rate at which they are getting launched compared to expensive electric cars like Tesla and some Chinese manufacturers which have all high end cars, like the pace at which affordable electric vehicles are getting launched in India is just humongous. Correct. The next thing that was stated is the formalization of economy, in the sense more and more people have, due to the advent of say digital payments and GST, current more and more businesses have come into the formal economy. Now all of us know that GST collection has been surpassing its previous records every month. Correct. And the corporate tax, which is one of the hindrance for new businesses to take up opening their offices and businesses in India, has also been drastically reduced under the Modi administration. The base corporate tax that our country charges is, on an average, when you compare it with other economies in the world, most developed economies charge way higher corporate taxes than those that are charged in India. Correct. I also told you about GST collection and how it has brought in small businesses into the formal infrastructure of the country. Correct. The third thing is RERA, the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act. Now, like dwellers, builders were also community which used to take undue advantage, and black money trades were random when it came to real estate purchases and sales. But because of RERA and the regulations that were passed in this act, all these trades and um, conditions that development in the real sector, the builders that they have to, the conditions for builders that have to be fulfilled, all have brought these sectors into the formalized economy. The fourth thing that was categorically stated in this report is the digitalization of social transfers. Now, say any money that people receive from the government into their bank accounts previously used to be collected, say from the post office or the thekedars, and say if 100 rupees was transferred by the government to some person, eventually what the person used to get after cuts by all the people who from whose hands the money came forward, the amount that the person actually got was not even half. But due to direct digital transfer, any amounts that the government passes on to the public, say by way of allowance for girl child or education allowance, any scholarships that the government passes on to the general public, are now directly getting deposited into their bank account. So they are getting full 100% of the payment that the government proposes to transfer to them. Farm loan waivers, correct. In many such cases where government directly transfers money into the hands of general public, no more cuts and are in place, and due to digital transfers, the needy get the full 100% of what the government has promised to pay them. Very, very important step that this government has taken. Insolvency and bankruptcy code, these codes are simplified, and so that more and more companies take advantage of this. Now, focus on FDI. What does this mean is, the foreign direct investment that is coming into the business, that is coming into the country, is a great source of foreign exchange reserve that the country needs. Now, focusing on this and seeing that more and more such funds come into the country. Why? Because we are today one of the most optimistic options to invest one's money in. So more and more people are getting attracted to investing in India. Correct. MNCs, basically what the report states is it has concentrated on ease of doing business, it has concentrated on uplifting people from poverty, it has made efforts to change the infrastructure and bring it at par with what is prevalent in the developed parts of the world, basically to create an environment which will help people come out of their poverty. We all know the kind of the data which says that maximum number of people have been brought above the poverty line in the last 10 years, correct? So all this is because of these macro level reforms that Morgan Stanley has so categorically stated in their report. So it also states that if in 2024 the same government comes to power, then there is no stopping for India. This is going to be a decade for India, and no one can stop it from becoming an economic superpower, given the kind of work and grassroots level efforts that the government is taking to uplift people from poverty. So this very, very important report also was published this week. And finally, the US debt ceiling limit crisis has finally been resolved. Now, it came to such a last moment that by 1st June, if this bill would not have been passed, then US would have defaulted on its debt. Now, I have made a video about what US debt is and why it has a crisis after every few years. Basically, US is printing money out of thin air. Now, the kind of debt that they have piled on over the years today stands at around $31.4 trillion, correct? The GDP to like it does not have money in the sense the it has a GDP deficit when it comes to budgetary deficit, when it comes to paying up against its debt, and the GDP to debt ratio of US stands at around 129%. So where GDP in the US is around $100, it has a debt which has to be repaid, which stands at around $129. So obviously its debt is more as compared to the money it has to repay the debt. Now every few years, the past one such crisis happened in 2011, and every few years the US faces this crisis wherein the two parties in the US, the representative, I'm sorry, the Democrats and the Republicans have both tussle it out, and finally a bill is passed wherein the debt ceiling limit is increased. So it unanimously allows the government to take more of such debts when it has no capacity to repay those debts. Now there is going to be a time in future where things are going to come at a standstill, but till the days are numbered up to which such increase in debt ceiling can be done over uh, such periods. This is the 70th time that this the debt ceiling has been increased by the US government. What it has done this time is till 2025 there is going to be no cap. So it has given free hand to the Biden government to keep on printing notes, and will not face this problem before the next presidential elections, which are due in November 2024. If the US would have defaulted on its debt, it would have had a rippling effect on most of the countries in the world. Now, when it comes to India, like the US, is one of the biggest importers of Indian products when it comes to value terms. Now, US defaulting would have had a tremendously negative impact on the Indian economy as well. But with this US debt ceiling crisis resolved and postponed till 2025, we have a breather of 1.5 years more before this crisis, before a decision about this crisis will need to be taken. So these were the three important news that happened this week, which all of us as investors should know, because they in a way would impact our investment decisions. Now that's it for from me in today's episode, and see you next week with more such interesting anecdotes and uh, data about helping you to invest properly. Correct. So keep watching and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, be safe.